Hey guys, tonight we uncover the raw and silent routines of hygiene that medieval prostitutes endured, routines you probably never read about in school, and that look nothing like what Hollywood tried to sell you. In a medieval brothel, hygiene wasn't about feeling clean, it wasn't about care, it was about survival. They had to wash their private parts with strong alcohol, wipe themselves with rags, and then immediately receive another man, every day. The smell of dried blood, semen and sweat built up, and no one gave them time to bathe. If they were in pain, they stayed quiet. If they were dirty, they endured. Because the customers kept coming. There were no mirrors, no fresh water. No one asked if they were okay. So before you get comfortable, take a second to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy these cold, strange corners of history. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is where you are. It's always fascinating to see how far these quiet stories reach. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. Because if you think walking past a stable is unpleasant, you've probably never stepped into a brothel in medieval Europe. The door didn't open into some lively place like the stories say. It opened into heat and smell. You haven't even stepped inside, but the smell finds you first. It doesn't drift. It doesn't creep. It charges straight into your nose, warm, sour, and sticky like wet wool left in a cellar. Old wine, burned fat, sweat that dried days ago, and something else, something sharper, a layer underneath. It smells like people who stopped cleaning because it stopped mattering. There's no welcome here. No one looks up. No one says your name. You cross the doorway. 1 step. 2. The floor changes under your feet, smooth stone smeared with something soft in the middle. You don't want to know what. The air is thick, not hot, not cold, just used. It feels like everyone has already breathed it before you. Someone coughs, far off. Someone else shifts in the dark. You hear a rag snap and the slap of bare feet on wet straw. The room doesn't move much, but it breathes. In, out. With you in it now. To your left, a wall blackened with soot. Oil, maybe smoke from old candles. To your right, a wooden basin with cloudy water. A rag droops over the edge, dripping onto the floor. No one touches it. No one cares. It's not a place that welcomes. It's a place that absorbs. It doesn't care if you're clean. It wants you dirty, wants you still, wants you silent. The girl in the corner doesn't notice you. She's kneeling, doing nothing, or maybe everything. Her hair is tied with a strip of fabric, her hands resting in her lap like they've been there for years. This is where you are now. You try breathing through your mouth. It doesn't help. The taste is the same urine and salt and wood rot. And then you stop trying, because there's no escape in breath. You learn the first rule here quickly. Hold it in, breathe less, think less. Because the smell doesn't just stay in your nose. It crawls into your throat, your hair, your skin, and once it's there, it doesn't leave. The dress isn't new. It never was. It was handed to you without a word, pulled from a hook on the wall, still damp from someone else. You didn't ask whose. No one asks. It sticks to itself when folded. The fabric is stiff where the sweat dried and soft where the seams have worn through. There's a brownish patch at the hem. It smells like old blood and something sourer underneath. You put it on anyway, because there's nothing else. This dress is not just your clothing. It's your uniform, your bedding, your second skin. Sometimes, even your burial shroud. No one gives you more. No clean set. No wash day. Just this. You learn quickly when the cloth starts to cling. You hang it near the fire not to clean it, just to dry it enough to pretend. That's the best you can hope for. Steam rises for a minute, then the smell returns. Every crease holds a history. Every fold has a memory. The man who grabbed too hard. The sweat from your back last week. The wine someone spilled when they missed your mouth. You shake it out in the alley each morning like a rug. Dust flies, stray herbs tumble out. A piece of straw. A crust of something worse. Then you step right back in. No underclothes. No slip. Just this. And you. At night. You sleep in it. If there's a blanket, you share it. If there isn't, the dress does the job bodily. The hem that touched the floor all day now curls up beside your cheek. You smell it when you breathe in your dreams. Sometimes is all you dream about. The fabric itches behind your knees. You don't scratch. Scratching leaves marks. Marks invite questions. Questions slow things down, and slow means less money. So you tie it tighter, tuck it in, ignore the wet spot from someone else, ignore the stiff place that never softens. This is what you wear. All day, all night, over and over. It doesn't belong to you, but somehow it knows you. You fold it the same way each time. You don't think about why. It just feels easier that way. Like repeating a prayer you don't believe in anymore. There's no soap here, no fresh water, no perfume, just vinegar and a handful of crushed leaves. You rub them into the sleeves, into the neckline. It stings if you've got a scratch. You probably do. Still, you keep going, because even the worst smell is better than smelling like what's actually underneath. Fabric softener here means a bucket of rain and a hope that maybe today the scent won't cling quite so hard. The basin is always there, a wide, shallow, bowl-wooden, warped, wedged into the corner where the wall meets the floor. You don't remember it ever being cleaned. No one does. No one says so out loud, but you all know it never is. It isn't hidden. It's just ignored, like a stain that's become part of the furniture, like a rule that everyone follows but never mentions. The water inside is brownish, sometimes grey. Sometimes it shines not from light, but from a thin skin of oil, floating quietly on the surface. There are things in it, bits of cloth, a few hairs, a fragment of something that might have once been soap. You kneel beside it. The stone is cold under your knees. You dip the cloth in without looking. It's already wet. It always is. Someone used it before you. You don't know who. Doesn't matter. She wiped her legs, or her armpits, or her mouth. You do the same. Face, then neck, then between your legs. Same rag, same hand, same water. The cloth smells faintly of vinegar, but mostly it smells like the room-old bodies, cheap wine, and skin that's never been truly dry. You wipe fast. No scrubbing, no soaking, just removal. The goal isn't to get clean, it's to get less dirty than you were 5 minutes ago. Behind you, someone shifts. A soft cough. She's waiting her turn. You nod once, not to her, to the basin, like saying thank you or sorry. There's no mirror nearby. You don't need one. You know exactly how you look. You look like someone who just washed with someone else's dirt, and tomorrow someone else will use the same cloth. You wring it out, just enough that it doesn't drip, and drape it back over the edge of the bowl. It lands with a soft splat. Sometimes there's wine nearby. A thimbleful left in the bottom of a broken jug. You dab a bit under your arms. If it stings, good. That means it's working. If it does, you've gone numb? There used to be vinegar. Once. Now it's diluted, reused, whispered about. Some say the vinegar killed the germs. Others say the smell just distracted the men long enough. Either way, it's gone now. You've learned to move around the basin without thinking. You don't flinch at the feel of wet wood. You don't mind the sound of cloth slapping against flesh. You don't gag when the rag comes away with something on it. That's just what happens here. Sometimes there's a line. Girls standing with their rags in hand, shoulders bare, expressions blank. No one speaks. Speaking makes it worse. Silence keeps the shame from crystallizing. You've tried boiling herbs once. You found a few dried leaves in the pantry, crushed them in your palm, poured warm water over them and let the scent rise. It helped, for a moment. The house mother slapped you for wasting them. Herbs are for selling, she said, not for soaking your stink. You never tried again. The floor beneath the basin is warped, always damp, sometimes slimy. You learned not to step too hard there. Once, a girl slipped and split her lip on the edge of the bowl. She bled into the water. No one changed it. You used it anyway. You always do. Some girls rinse their mouths with the same water and swirl it once. Spit into the corner. You tried once. Never again. There are days the basin goes untouched, not because no one needs it, but because someone bled in it again, and it hasn't settled yet. You all wait. You don't discuss it. You just let the dirt sink to the bottom and pretend the surface is new. There is no schedule, no cleaning chart, Just whoever's bold enough to go first. The shy ones go last and pay for it. You once watched a girl wash only her thighs. She said it was enough. Her client didn't notice. That's all that matters here. Not hygiene, not health, just passable. If no one complains, you did enough. If someone does, it's your fault. You tried once to ask for more water. The house mother laughed. What for, you'll just get dirty again. And she was right. You don't tell the new girls what's in the basin. They find out on their own. They gag the first time. They hold their breath the second. By the third day, they're reaching for the cloth without blinking. It's a rite of passage, or a surrender. You don't remember when it stopped bothering you. You just know it did. Now you use it, fold the rag, and move on. The smell, it doesn't leave your hands, no matter how long you dry them, but it leaves the room eventually, not because it's gone, because you've started to smell like it too, so no one notices anymore. And the basin, it waits. Always full, always ready. In this house, we believe in recycling even souls. It's a sliver of metal, once part of something else, maybe a tin plate, or a cracked lamp. Now it lives wrapped in cloth under the bed, or sometimes wedged in a crack between the floorboards. It's hidden, but not protected. It rusts, it flakes, but it cuts just enough. There's no handle. You hold it with your fingers, carefully, angle your hand just right, so the edge faces down, then breathe in and begin. You always start at the same place, just inside the thigh, where hair grows soft, fine, and unforgivable. The first stroke never cuts. Not deep, at least. It scratches, pulls, reminds your skin that you're still something alive, something with nerve endings. The second stroke bites harder, not because you're careless, because the blade has no edge. It peels more than it shaves, removes what's visible and some of what's underneath. There's no soap, no oil, no warm towel, just a piece of linen between your teeth to keep from making noise. Blood comes fast, sometimes. You press a finger against it until it stops. If it doesn't stop, you wrap it. If it stains the rag, you fold it so the stain doesn't show. That's not for you. That's for the men. They don't like blood unless it's theirs. They don't like hair unless it's on your head. They say clean like it means something. But they don't ask what you used to get that way. You learned early hair makes you wild. Smooth makes you clean. Bleeding makes you replaceable. No one gives you a razor. No one gives you a choice. Some girls use broken glass. Some use fire. You tried once with a bit of rope soaked in ash, tied it tight and pulled. You didn't sit properly for 3 days. Still, you shaved again the next night. Because they notice. And noticing leads to talking. And talking leads to complaints. And complaints lead to consequences. So you bend forward, spread your legs, hold your breath. You don't shave for beauty. You shave for silence. Smooth skin means fewer questions. Fewer questions mean more nights. More nights mean survival. You don't do it every day. Only when the hair grows enough to catch on cloth. When it tugs as you shift your weight, or catches a man's glance just long enough. Some girls skip. They take the risk. They say, hell, be drunk anyway. But not you. You don't take chances with things that can be controlled. Not when everything else isn't. Sometimes, if you're lucky, there's leftover fat in the food bowl. You take a smear, rub it on the skin to soften it. It smells like meat and ash, but it works better than dry skin. The shard squeaks when you drag it through the grease. It doesn't glide. It hesitates. Every pull reminds you that you're forcing it. You do the backs of your thighs, under the arms, a little at the nape of your neck, if someone might see it. There are no towels. You dab the blood with the hem of your dress, or your sleeve, or the same rag you used this morning to wipe your legs. You never sterilize the blade. There's nothing to sterilize with. Some girls try boiling it in a pot. One cracked the bottom of the pan and lost dinner for the night. Now no one does that. Instead, you rinse it under the same basin water everyone shares. Or just wipe it on straw and call it done. You've had infections. Little red bumps that grew into boils. Scabs that refuse to close. You used to pick at them. Now you leave them. If they burst, they burst. If they scar, they scar. Your thighs are a map of past cuts. Each one faded, silver pink, raised like thread under thin fabric. But no one sees them. Not if you move quickly. Not if the room is dark. Not if you smile at the right time and tilt your hips just so. That's all they want. The illusion of clean, the idea of soft, the absence of resistance. Some nights, you forget to check for bleeding. You only notice when a man pulls away with a red smear on his hand. He says nothing. You say less. Later, you rinse the sheet and flip the mattress. No one notices. No one cares. Your body is expected to be ready, to be polished, to be hairless and scentless and silent. So you keep shaving, with the same shard, under the same breath. You cut yourself again, just above the knee. It stings, but not badly. You smile, because if it bleeds, it still works, and if it smells, cover it. There's a jar on the shelf. It's not labelled. No one needs it to be. You know it by the smell sharp, bitter, almost sweet, like fruit that's gone too far. Some call it wine, others say vinegar. You don't ask where it came from. You just hope it's strong enough. The first time you dipped your cloth into it, you flinched. It burned your fingers. Not in a painful way, just enough to remind you this isn't comfort. This is war. You press it under your arms, just a dab, then between your legs, then across your neck, where sweat collects and men like to bury their faces. You wince when it touches a scratch. The sting travels, up your ribs, down your spine. You do it again anyway. Because that pain is useful. It tells you you're doing it right. If it doesn't burn, it means you missed a spot. Sometimes you wonder what it would feel like to use warm water and soap instead. But there's no time for fantasies. The vinegar is here. The soap isn't. So you pour, rub, and move on. The cloth you used was clean 3 girls ago. Now it smells like old feet and boiled meat. You pretend not to notice. You pretend it still works, because smelling like vinegar is better than smelling like you. Not that anyone tells you that, but they don't have to. You've seen what happens when the smell gets too strong. The man winces, the madam glares, you lose your turn, or worse, you don't. And that's the real fear. You once tried perfume. Someone left behind a tiny glass vial amber liquid that smelled like oranges and smoke. You used a single drop, just one, behind the ear. The man that night asked if you were hiding something. He didn't like the mystery. He wanted sweat, not suggestion. You were punished. Now you stick to vinegar. And if there's no vinegar, you use wine. And if there's no wine, you use your own spit and hope the gods aren't watching. Sometimes the solution is too strong. The skin under your arms peels. You rub anyway. Because red skin is still better than a bad first impression. One girl used too much. She poured the whole cup over her head. Her scalp blistered. She smelled like roasted cider for 3 days. The men didn't mind. They said it was earthy. She didn't speak much after that. You keep your own bottle tucked under the mattress. It's almost empty. You use it sparingly, 2 drops a day. 1 in the morning, 1 before night. The rest, you ration like water in a drought. Because no one shares. Because once it's gone, you go back to smelling like the room. You've started associating the sting with comfort. That moment when the vinegar bites into your skin, that's the only time you feel something clean. Briefly, sharply, then gone. The rest of the day, you walk in layers of other people's breath and dirt and fluids. But for 5 seconds after wiping down your thighs, you smell like acid and survival. Sometimes the wine is turned. It's cloudy. Chunks float in it. You still use it. You tell yourself it's just herbs. You tell yourself you don't care, because caring slows you down. And there are already 10 girls ahead of you tonight. You once asked for lemon. The house mother laughed. Lemon is for rich women who sweat politely. She said, you never asked again. Now, when you see a stain forming under your arms, you reach for the bottle. Not because it will fix it, but because it will prove you tried. And trying matters here, even if the result is the same. Some nights, when you lie down, you can still smell it on your fingers. You fall asleep with that sting in your nostrils, a memory of a liquid that didn't work but tried. It's better than nothing, which is what you'd have otherwise. Other girls use ashes, or crushed leaves, or nothing at all. Some rub herbs into their skin until they sneeze. One girl rubbed garlic into her dress so thickly the room reeked like a kitchen. No one complained. No one came near her either, which, depending on your mood, might be a gift. The goal is not to be clean, it's to be unnoticed, to blend, to smell like something neutral, to disappear between the straw and the wall. Sometimes, when the wine runs low, you consider drinking it instead, not to escape, just to burn from the inside. 2, you need every drop for the outside, because that's what they notice. Not your face, not your hands, not your voice, just the smell. So you dip the cloth again, rub again, hiss as the sting bites the spot behind your knee, the one that never heals. And you whisper the same phrase you've heard 10 times today but now smell later. There are no beds here, just a floor and some straw. Sometimes a blanket, usually not. You sleep where there's space. If there's space, the rom isn't clean. It used to be yellow. Now it's brown in some places, black in others. Sticky in spots where someone bled, wet in corners where someone missed the bucket. You don't ask which is which. You don't lie down right away. You lower yourself, slowly, feeling for bugs, bones, or anything sharp beneath you. The straw crunches, then sinks, then stays. There's no mattress, just cloth sacks, flattened from years of weight. No feathers, no wool stuffing, no softness, only the sound of breath your own and everyone else's. The air is cold, but the room is hot. 12 bodies crammed together in one room, all breathing into each other. The warmth doesn't come from fire. There is no fire. It comes from skin, from breath, from the exhale of people too tired to care. You're lucky if your feet don't touch someone else's. Luckier still if your shoulder doesn't become someone's pillow. The girl next to you coughs once, then goes still. The one on your other side scratches, up under the blanket. Then silence again. You don't speak. No one does. Talking wastes air. And air is thin down here. It hangs just above the floor, where the damp settles and the mould grows slow in the corners. Your back touches stone. You think of fluff, of quilts, of something you read about once called a mattress. Then you stop. Thinking of comfort only makes this feel worse. So you focus on small things, like the texture of the hem under your neck, or the one soft straw poking your thigh, or the smell of whoever lay here last. It's always someone else's smell. You never get your own spot. You borrow. Sometimes it's sour. Sometimes it's sweet. Sometimes it smells like mint, and you wonder who wasted the herbs. But mostly, it smells like the day. Sweat, feet, wine, and a quiet, unspoken kind of fear. There's no pillow. You fold your dress, ball it up. It doesn't help much. It's still damp. You lie on your side, knees pulled in, arms tucked under, protecting your chest not from others, but from the chill that creeps in through the seams of the wall. A rat runs along the edge of the room. You hear it before you see it. The others don't move. They've learned not to flinch. If it touches you, you slap, then forget, then sleep. That's how it goes. You try to close your eyes, but there's too much noise. Not voices movement, a shuffle, a cough, the slap of skin on skin when someone turns over, and breath. Always breath. The kind of breath that isn't restful. It's ragged, interrupted, half-held. Like everyone is trying not to disturb the air too much. One girl snores, another grinds her teeth. Someone whispers something in her sleep. A name, maybe. You don't ask whose. You adjust your leg. Feel a flea bite your ankle, scratch once, then stop. Because you don't want to wake anyone. There is a curtain near the corner. Behind it, the chamber pot. It's full. You can smell it from here. You consider getting up. You don't. Not because you're clean, but because stepping into that air means stepping out of this warmth. This awful, shared, recycled warmth. The only warmth there is. You hear someone rise, bare feet on stone, the slosh of the bucket, then the hiss of someone trying to be quiet and failing. You pretend to sleep. You always pretend first. Then, eventually, real sleep arrives, or something close enough. No dreams. Not here. Dreams are a luxury. You don't want to remember what comfort feels like. Not in a place like this. Because once you remember softness, you can't forgive the straw. So you lie still, breathe shallow, don't move, and eventually, the room forgets you. You become part of the pile, a shoulder, a hip, a quiet presence under a frayed edge of shared cloth. This is rest. Not because it feels good, but because it ends the day, and tomorrow, You'll wake up with the same ache in your hip, the same damp on your lower back, the same straw sticking to your thigh, but for now, you're here, with 10 other girls, and 1 blanket, and no words, and the only softness came from shared silence. There's only 1 candle, and it's not yours. It sits in the centre of the room, stubby and leaning, barely taller than your thumb. The wax has melted into the bowl below it, hardened into drips and ridges that mark every night it survived. You don't light it. You wait for someone else to. The girl with the strongest fingers, the one brave enough to strike flint over old rags and hope the spark catches. When it does, there's a tiny cheer inside. But no one claps. No one smiles. Just a collective exhale. Light is expensive. Firewood costs. Candles are cut in half and used twice. This one is reused until the wick curls and the flame dances sideways like it's drunk. It doesn't brighten the room. It outlines it. Walls glow at the edges. Faces appear like ghosts. Hands cast long shadows that stretch across straw and skin. 1 candle, 10 girls, no privacy, only flicker. You crouch near the edge of the light. You wait for your turn not to speak, just to see. Your fingers shake as you check your skin. Is that a bruise or dirt? Is that rash still spreading? Did the blood dry? Or is it just darker straw? There's no mirror here. Even if there was, would you look? Your face doesn't matter. Your eyes don't tell your story. They've seen too much, but they say too little. You used to glance at reflections in bowls, in puddles, in the dull curve of a bent pan. Now, you avoid them. Not because of shame, because of truth. Truth has no place here. You don't need to see your face to know how tired it looks. You can feel it in the weight behind your eyes, the slack of your jaw, the way your lips stay parted even when you're not speaking. The candle sputters. A shadow shifts. You move closer. You want to see if your wound reopened, the one near your ankle. You pull up your skirt just enough. The light catches the edge. The skin is pink, scabbed, angry. You nod. Not better, not worse, just still there. That's good enough. You dip your cloth into what's left of the vinegar and press it to the spot. It stings. But that's old news. Across the room, another girl uses the candlelight to wipe between her legs. She does it fast. No shame, no ceremony, just routine. Someone else is plucking lice from her hair. Throwing them into the flame, 1 by 1, they sizzle, a tiny pop, like fat in a pan. You stare, not in horror, in boredom. This is the most interesting thing you'll see today. The flame flickers again, almost out. You hold your breath, because when the candle dies, the night becomes something else, heavier, colder. You lose more than light. You lose your place in the room, in the dark. Everyone becomes the same one shape, one sound, one smell. You stop being a girl. You become part of the air, part of the weight. The flame steadies, not gone yet. You reach for your hair, feel the sweat at the roots. You debate untying it, letting it fall. You don't. It's easier to manage when it's out of the way. Easier to fake neatness in the dark. You pull your skirt back down, smooth it out, even though no one's looking, even though no one will. The candle dips. 1 last breath of brightness. Then dark. No goodbye, no warning. You sit still. No one sighs. No one says, it's out. You all just know. The room shrinks inward. The walls lean closer. Breath becomes the only heat left. You lie back. The night has officially begun. Now. The room forgets its edges. Faces disappear. Hands become guesses. Words become soft and meaningless. You close your eyes. Not because you're tired, because there's nothing left to look at. And anyway, who needs mirrors when you already hate what you see? There's a way to do it. Not because someone wrote it down, because someone showed you. Then you watch them do it again, and again, until it became a kind of choreography. First the cloth. You dip it in the basin, not too deep. Just enough so it feels wet, not dripping, not dry. Then the sequence. Face. Armpits. Between the legs. Repeat. Always in that order. No one explains why. You just do it. If you mix it up, someone stares. If you take too long, someone sighs. If you do it wrong, someone might say, she doesn't know yet, and that's worse than anything, because it means you still believe there's a right way to be clean. You learn fast it's not about the result. It's about the effort, the illusion. The room smells the same before and after. The water looks worse, but everyone pretends something's been fixed, because pretending is safer. Someone once said, "She looked clean enough to sell." That was meant as praise. You start watching the others, their movements, the way they fold the cloth after every pass, like it makes a difference. Some girls add a spin dab under the ears, swipe across the collarbone, not for hygiene, for effect, for the client. Because the men don't see the rag, they see the shine, they smell the vinegar, they register the gesture, and that's what counts. Cleanliness here isn't about health, it's about performance, like powder on a corpse, like perfume over rot. You wipe until your skin stings, then keep wiping, because stinging proves effort. The cloth never changes. The hands do. Sometimes you get someone else's rag by accident. It's still damp, still smells like breath and sweat. You use it anyway. You don't flinch anymore. There's no towel to dry with. You flap your arms until the skin feels less wet, or you pull your dress back down and let the fabric do the rest. Dampness fades faster than shame. One night, you tried washing twice. Face, armpits, between the legs. Then again. The madam asked if you were sick. Only sick girls need that much cleaning. You never did it twice again. You fall into rhythm, like a dance. Step forward, lift, wipe, pause, step back, nod. It's the same for all of you. Even the new girls stop questioning it after the third day. They come in wide-eyed, hesitant, careful. By the end of the week, they're folding the rag like a prop, bending at the waist like it means something. You smile at them, not out of kindness, out of recognition. You were them once, now you're someone else, someone efficient, someone quiet, someone clean enough. No one asks how you feel, only how you look, and if you look fine, you must be fine. One girl cried while wiping. She didn't stop. Tears ran down her face, met the vinegar cloth halfway. No one comforted her, no one interrupted. She completed the routine, then lay down, still wet. Another girl once bled through her dress. She wiped it up with the same cloth, then wiped her face with it. Someone said, "That's brave." Someone else said, "That's stupid." No one stopped her. The line between those two things is thin here. You learn to act. Act like the rag isn't filthy. Act like the sting doesn't hurt. Act like it's helping. You even start to convince yourself that maybe this is enough. Maybe this is care. Maybe this is hygiene. Then the basin refills. The next girl steps forward. She takes the rag. She starts her sequence. And you remember this isn't about care. It's about compliance. The movements matter more than the meaning. As long as you go through the steps, you'll be left alone. You've turned yourself into a system, a repetition, a checklist. No one sees you anymore. They see the ritual. Face, armpits, between the legs, dry, dress, done. You don't miss mirrors, you miss intention. But there's no time for that now. The next girl is waiting. You step aside. You don't speak. You don't smile. You don't breathe too deeply. You've done your part. You're clean. Not really, but enough. Because here you're not a person, you're a checklist. No one talks about the mouth. Not because it's private, because it's hopeless. There's no toothbrush, no powder, no mint, only a twigtree. Bitter, stripped of bark. You chew it. Bite until the end phrase, then rub it against your teeth like someone told you it helps. You don't remember who. Maybe no one. Maybe you just saw someone else do it once and copied them. You pretend it works, but your gums still bleed, your lips still crack, your tongue still tastes like old wine and meat that should have been cooked longer. You try not to open your mouth too much. Not when talking, not when laughing, not even when gasping, because breath betrays you. It smells, and not the kind of smell that comes from a skipped meal. It's deeper, rotted, like something has been dying inside you in small pieces for weeks. You lick your teeth and feel the grit. Not food, just plaque, dried blood, maybe bits of ash from last night's fire. There is no floss. You use a fingernail. Sometimes a string from your dress. If you're lucky, a mint leaf appears left by a merchant, dropped near a barrel. You steal it. Chew it until it's mush. Hold the juice in your mouth like it's holy. Then it's gone, and you're back to wine breath and regret. One girl tried salt. rubbed it on her gums until they turned red and raw. She said it made her smile look healthier. No one noticed. No one cared. Another girl swirled vinegar in her mouth. It stung. She said it killed the germs. It also stripped the skin from her inner cheeks. She didn't speak for 3 days. You don't blame her. The pain isn't the worst part. It's the silence after, when you realize no one expects you to say anything anyway. Your mouth isn't for words. It's for shape, for form. It's for smiling at the right time, for moaning when expected, for kissing, if paid extra. Nothing else. You've bitten through your lip before, by accident, during a bad night. You felt the skin split, the warmth flood in. You tasted iron. You swallowed it. The client didn't notice. He said you were quiet, called it well-trained. You bled onto the straw, covered it with your hair, didn't speak the next day. No one asked why. Your voice fades over time, first into a whisper, then a grunt, then nothing. Words become optional, then inconvenient, then dangerous. The quieter you are, the safer you stay. You learn to nod, to bow, to smile, but only with your lips. Not too wide, not too long. Teeth aren't welcome unless they're white, and yours aren't. They're yellowed, chipped, aching. You try not to notice. When you press your tongue against the back molar, it shifts, not loose. But thinking about it, you stop pressing. Some nights, you dream about spitting out teeth, one by one, like a string of pearls falling into your palm. You wake up with your jaw clenched, your breath stale, your mouth dry. You drink from the basin. It helps. Then it doesn't. Your breath returns by morning, stronger, stubborn. A man once wrinkled his nose. You laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was the only thing left to do. He didn't leave. He just said, face the other way. So you did. That became the rule. Face away. Don't breathe too close. Keep your mouth shut unless requested. Simple. You still chew the twig each morning. Still rub the frayed end against your teeth until your gums tingle. It's not for cleanliness. It's for dignity. A silent ritual. A reminder that your mouth is still yours. Even if only for 5 minutes a day. You rinse with water that smells like old metal. Spit into the fire pit. Feel better for a moment. Then forget. By nightfall, the taste returns. Sour. Thick. Familiar. You pull the blanket over your mouth when you sleep. Not for warmth, but to save others from the smell. You've never been kissed for pleasure, only for money. And even then, not often. One man tried to kiss you softly once. You turned your head, not because you didn't want it, but because you didn't want him to smell the truth. That this mouth has held too many things it shouldn't, and said too few things it should have. So now, you stay quiet. Your lips move only when required. Your teeth stay hidden. Your tongue stays behind your teeth. And your breath, it stays with you. If your breath didn't kill the mood, you were hired. There's no schedule for it. It arrives when it wants silent, inconvenient, and unwelcome. There's no warning bell, no extra cloth handed out, no time off. It doesn't matter if you're cramping or bleeding through linen. The house doesn't stop. The men don't wait. You feel it first as a throb in your lower back, a slow churn in the pit of your belly, then the warmth, then the panic. You excuse yourself quietly, not to rest, just to prepare. You find a rag. Not a new one, there are none. Just one that's dry enough. You fold it in half, then again, until it feels thick enough to absorb something. You tuck it between your legs. No pin, no belt, no help, just fabric and faith. If it shifts, you adjust. If it slips, you catch it. If it falls, you pick it up fast, then keep going. You've bled through your dress before. Everyone has. No one says anything. Not the other girls. Not the madam. Not even the clients. They just pretend the red on the sheet isn't new. That it's wine. Or rust. Or nothing at all. You've learned how to position your body so it doesn't show. A tilt of the hip. A bend of the leg. A careful placement on the straw. Still, it leaks. The blood soaks through the cloth. Then the dress. Then the rom beneath you. You feel it pooling, then cooling, then sticking. You don't stop. There's no break for biology, no time out for pain. You've served men with cramps so sharp you thought you'd scream. You didn't. You kept your mouth shut, your body moving and your face somewhere far away. Afterwards, you rinse the cloth in cold water, you wring it out, hang it by the fire if you're lucky. If not, you stuff it under your mattress until it's needed again. It smells, but not worse than anything else in this place. Sometimes the rag never dries. It stays damp, heavy, a reminder that nothing ever gets completely clean here. You've used the same one for months. It's no longer white. It has gone soft at the edges, rough in the centre. It tears sometimes. You tie the pieces together. One girl used an old sleeve, another used straw, wrapped tight in cloth. It scratched. She bled more, but it stayed in place. That's what matters, not comfort, control. You don't dare ask for help, not for extra cloth, not for a break, not for kindness. You heard what happened to the last girl who stained the blanket too visibly. The client complained. The madam slapped her, called her dirty, told her to hold it in next time, as if it were a choice. Now, you keep an extra rag folded in your pocket, just in case, just to feel prepared, even though you never really are. The cramps get worse each time. Your body clenches like it's trying to fold in on itself. You curl your toes to distract from the pain. You bite your lip until it bleeds. You hum under your breath. Not a song, just noise. Just something to hold on to while your womb declares war. No one asks how you feel, not even the girls, because they already know. They're bleeding too. Some of them right now, some of them trying not to shift the rag beneath them. The silence is shared. Like everything else here, you've become good at hiding it, at sitting just right, at squeezing your legs when you move so the cloth doesn't fall. But sometimes it does. Sometimes right in the middle of it all. You feel the rag slip. Gravity takes over. It slides down your thigh. You clench, but it's too late. You look down. It's there. Red. Exposed. Wrong. You keep your face still. You reach down. Quick. Quiet. Pick it up. Push it back. Don't break eye contact. The man doesn't notice, or pretends not to. Either way, he finishes, then leaves. You exhale. Fix your dress. Turn the straw. No one says a word, because the rule here is simple. You bleed, you wipe, you keep working. You're not a girl on her period. You're a girl on the job. The rag is yours. The stain is yours. The silence is shared. You clean what you can. You hide what you can't. You lie down, still cramping, and wait for morning. Someone will use the same spot you did. Maybe she'll see the red. Maybe she won't. Maybe she'll just lie there, too tired to care. And when someone jokes about the smell, when someone rolls their eyes and says, again you'll laugh, because what else can you do time of the month someone asks you, you shrug, time to get back to work. Hair isn't beauty here, it's burden, it clings, it tangles, it traps everything you're trying to forget. You used to comb it, back when you had a comb, back when you thought hair was something to keep neat. Now, you just keep it out of the way. You tie it back with string whatever's available. A strip torn from a blanket, a frayed bit of dress hem. Once, even a shoelace someone dropped. There is no oil, no perfume, no brush, only fingers, only knots, only the low, dull ache of a scalp pulled too tight for too long. The hair at the back of your neck is always damp. Sweat collects there. So does dust. So does time. You used to notice the smell. Now, you just try to make sure it doesn't get in your mouth while you work. The strands fall constantly. You pluck them off your tongue, wipe them from your dress, push them behind your ear until they fall again. Some girls shave it all off. They say it's cleaner, easier, less tempting for lice. You've considered it, then changed your mind. Because even though your hair means nothing to you now, it means something to the men. They like to grab it. They like to see it spread out. They like to say, you're prettier with it down, so you keep it. For them, not for you. You rub lard into the ends to keep them from splitting. Not real lard. Leftover fat from the stew pot, scraped out when no one's looking. It smells like smoke and onion, but it makes the hair lie flatter. It helps you look less wild, more prepared, more sellable. One girl used to add dried flowers just to feel something like beauty. She sneezed all night, then stopped bothering. Now, the rest of you just rub grease and tie knots. Some days, the hair gets so tangled you have to cut it. Not with scissors, there are none. with a shard, with broken glass, with whatever you can find that will slice without tugging too much. The floor collects the pieces, small black spirals, long brown ropes, fistfuls of strands wrapped in someone's discarded ribbon. You don't sweep it. You just kick it into the corner, let it mix with the dust and straw and regrets. Lice come quickly. You feel the itching before you see the bugs. But when you do see them moving at your hairline, darting behind your ear, you know what comes next. You have two choices. You shave, or you burn. Burning means rubbing ashes into your scalp, the kind left at the edge of the hearth, still warm, still sharp. You mash them into your roots. It doesn't kill the lice, but it tells the others that you tried. Shaving means giving up the last thing you pretended was yours. You've watched a girl do it with a piece of metal, no mirror, no ceremony, just her knees up, chin down, hair falling into her lap like discarded thread. She didn't cry, just pressed her hand to her bare scalp and nodded once. That night, she worked the same as always. The man didn't care. But later, when he left, he said she looked like a boy. The madam scowled, warned the rest of you not to go bald unless you had to. So now, you wait until you have to. You braid it when you can, loose, low, quick. Something to make it seem intentional. But by morning, it's undone again. Tangling with someone else's strands on the shared blanket, snagging on straw, getting caught under elbows, under feet, under memory. You dream of scissors, of cutting it all at once in a single sweep, like shedding a second skin. But you wake up with it stuck to your face, heavy and damp, reminding you that nothing leaves that easily. Hair isn't freedom. It's another thing to manage, another thing to hide, another way to be judged. You keep it tied, you keep it oiled, you keep it quiet, and when it falls out in clumps, you don't gasp. You just gather the strands in your hand, roll them into a ball, toss them into the corner, the lice return, the knots tighten, the grease runs low, you tuck it under your scarf, pretend it's still yours. But here hair isn't a crown, it's a chain. It doesn't make you beautiful, it makes you vulnerable. Something to grab, something to stain, something to rip out in a rush. And when it's finally gone, no one mourns it, not even you. Because in this place, hair is not decoration. It's just another thing that gets in the way. It hangs there, always. Behind the bed frame, looped over a rusted nail, half dry, half forgotten. No one remembers who hung it there first. No one claims it. It isn't yours, but you use it. Everyone does. It's the rag. Not a rag. The rag. The one you reach for when there's blood, or sweat, or something else that shouldn't be where it is. It's always damp, not wet, not dry. Damp like a sponge someone stopped rinsing weeks ago. The colour impossible to tell. Once white, maybe grey, now some shade between rot and dust. You never wash it. There's no time. There's no water. Besides, what would be the point? Cleanliness isn't the goal. Containment is. The rag wipes it away, whatever it is. After a man leaves, you reach back, take it down, fold it once, and wipe. Fast. Behind the legs, between the thighs, over the sheets, if necessary. Then you fold it again, hang it back. Pretend that didn't happen. Sometimes it's cold. Sometimes warm. Depends who used it before you. But it's never fresh. It smells like iron and vinegar and thyme. One girl tried to hide it once, said she wanted her own, said sharing made her skin crawl. By morning, she was using it again. Because when it's midnight, and you're dripping something you don't have a name for, you don't have the luxury of principles, you grab what's there, and it's always there. Sometimes it stiffens, dries just enough to keep its shape. You break the corners apart with your finger, it flakes, then softens with use. There's comfort in its routine. Wipe, fold, replace, move on. No one talks about it. You just learn the steps. It becomes instinct like blinking or breathing. A girl once bled onto the floor. It wasn't much, just enough to matter. The client said nothing, but later, you heard her crying behind the partition. You handed her the rag. She didn't thank you. She just took it. 'Cause that's what you do. Not speak, not comfort. Just pass it along. The rag sees more than anyone. More than the madam, more than the other girls, more than you admit. It absorbs pain, shame, routine. It wipes up what you can't say. You've used it to blot a cut, to clean a spill, to dry your hands, to press against your lips when they crack open. Sometimes you hold it in your lap while you wait. Not for function, for familiarity. It warms as you touch it, softens, reminds you that not everything in this room is metal and stone, even if it is filthy, even if it is shared. Once, someone asked whose rag is that. You all looked at her, not angry, just puzzled, because she didn't understand. It's not about ownership, it's about usefulness. The rag is part of the job, like the bed, like the basin, like the dress you can't wash. It's passed between hands like a ritual object, sacred but soiled. You've seen it used 3 times in a row by 3 different girls. No rinse between, no comment. Only the sound of breath, fabric, and fading. It's not clean, but it works, which is all that matters here. Once, you tried to replace it, cut a square from an old petticoat, tried to introduce it slowly, quietly. The madame found it, said it looked too clean, asked what you were hiding or what you were bleeding. You shook your head. She didn't believe you. By evening, the new rag was gone. The old one still there, hanging in its place, waiting. You went back to it. No one said a word. Now, you know better. When it's missing, you feel its absence. Not like loss, like interruption, like a pause in the rhythm. You check behind the bed, find it there, still damp, still folded. You breathe in, smell what you expect. That's how you know everything's still working, that you're still here, that the job hasn't changed. You don't ask where it's been, you don't ask what it's touched, because if you did, you'd never use it again, and you have to. Because when the blood comes, when the man finishes, when something leaks where it shouldn't, you don't go for water. You go for the rag, you press it against yourself, hold it there, breathe through your nose, count to 10, then fold, hang, forget, until the next time. Because here you don't own anything. Not the bed, not your time, not even your own rags. Everything is borrowed, even your skin. The bath is in the back room, half sunken into the ground, ringed with cracked stone, lined with splinters. The wood is blackened in places, slimy in others. It groans when you shift your weight against it, like it's tired of holding so much. The water is never warm, not even close. It starts the day clear enough to lie. By nightfall, it tells the truth. You wait your turn, sometimes for hours, sometimes for nothing, because by the time you step in, it's not a bath. It's a soup, a thick, cloudy mixture of sweat, hair, dead skin, and whatever someone else left behind. You lower yourself slowly, not because it hurts, because it's worse if you stir it. The surface might still shimmer in the candlelight. Don't be fooled. That shine is oil, from bodies, from heads, from parts that aren't spoken of. You dip a rag, wipe your thighs, lift your foot and rub the arch with your palm. Not scrubbing, not cleansing, just smearing what's already there across somewhere new. You pretend you're getting cleaner. You're not. You're just making your filth match theirs. The water clings to you. It resists draining. It dries sticky. And still, you go in. Because sometimes, the worst stink can be replaced with a slightly less awful one. Because if you skip it, the others notice. And if they don't, the men will. You saw a girl once get pushed into the tub. She hadn't bathed in days, didn't have time, didn't have the nerve. She cried when they forced her in. Not from shame, from knowing that now she carried everyone else with her. You've cried, too, silently, while wiping the rim before sitting down. You hope the girl before you didn't bleed, but the water's too dark to tell. Someone left a bit of soap once, slippery, round, smelled like herbs. It vanished by morning. Now you just use your hands, and cloth, and prayers, if you still believe in them. You rub under your arms, between your toes, behind your knees, the places men check, the places they press against, the places you don't want to smell like meat. You rinse your hair if you dare. You dip it in once, quick, then wring it out and hope it doesn't reek worse than before. You heard someone found a lice egg floating once. You believe it. You've seen things bobbing on the surface petals, bits of ash, a dead rat. Once. They fished it out with a stick, kept using the water. No one flinched. No one expects clean anymore. They just want less dirty. You've learned to go early if you can. The first girl gets the illusion, the 5th gets reality, the 10th gets residue. You've been the 10th. You've stepped in and felt the bottom of the tub shift beneath your foot. Something soft, slippery. You didn't look down, just wiped and got out. There are no towels. You use your dress, or the fire, or the air. You sit on a stone bench with your arms crossed, hoping no one looks too long. The smell doesn't go away. It just changes shape, from sweat to vinegar, from meat to mould, from you to them. You watch other girls. Some rinse only their legs, others their face. One just dips her feet, then claims she's clean. No one challenges her. They don't want to wait. The floor around the tub is wet, warped. The boards have soft spots. Step wrong, and you sink. You've slipped, more than once. You scraped your knee, felt the water enter the cut. You waited 3 days to see if it would rot. It didn't, but it remembered. Now you have a mark there, a line that burns in the winter, a reminder that bathing here is a risk. But everything is. You dry your face with your hand, pat your chest, then leave the room. You don't feel better. You feel invaded. Someone else is already behind you, stepping in. The cycle begins again. You walk back to your spot, put on your dress, tuck your wet hair behind your ears. Someone asks if the water was warm. You smile, not cold enough to kill anything. That's the joke. That's the truth. You lie down, let the dampness press into your back, let your skin absorb what it can push away. This isn't cleanliness. It's choreography. It's obligation. It's community, in the worst sense of the word. You all smell the same. You all carry each other now, on your neck, under your arms, between your toes. This bath didn't make you cleaner. It just made you match. And maybe that's what matters. Because in a room like this, being too clean makes you suspicious. Too fresh. Too different. Better to blend in. Better to leave a little filth behind, just to stay safe. You sleep that night with your skin still wet. You wake up the same, only colder, only heavier. But in this house, that's as clean as you'll ever get. You don't wear perfume. You wear disguise. Whatever's strong enough to hide the truth, that's what goes on your skin. A smear of crushed garlic behind the ear, a bit of vinegar under each arm, wine dabbed at the throat like it might distract from something worse. There's no consistency, only desperation. One day it's dried mint leaves rubbed into the neck. The next it's a pinch of ash blended with stew grease. None of it works. Not really, but that's not the point. It's not about smelling good. It's about smelling less like yourself. The body has its own scent, of fear, of blood, of skin rubbed raw. You learn to fear it, to bury it. You layer on smells the way others layer on fabric. Anything to keep the truth from rising up. You've rubbed wilted flower petals into your sleeves. They wilted more. They turned brown against the heat of your arm. But you kept rubbing, because something sweet, even for a second, felt like a shield. The men don't ask what you smell like. They just wrinkle their noses when it's too strong. One client said you smelled like the back of a kitchen. You smiled. It was the best compliment you'd had in weeks. Another said you smelled too clean. That worried him. Asked if you were sick, or hiding something, and so you said nothing. Just let the scent fade. Let yourself fade with it. You've tried soap once. A client left a sliver behind. You broke it into 4 pieces. Used it over a week. Rinsed with cold water. Scrubbed hard enough to turn red. The result, everyone stared. You smell rich. Someone said, you smell like you think you're better. Someone else whispered, that was the last time. Now, you stick to garlic, to vinegar, to the faint stink of boiled herbs someone abandoned in the basin. The scent stays in your nails, in the folds behind your knees, in the neckline of your dress. You press your fingers into your scalp and sniff. Still there. Still hiding. Good. It doesn't last. No scent does. By midday, it's sweat again. By nightfall, it's worse. The smell seeps through your dress, through the straw, through whatever distance you try to keep. You try again. More ash, more herbs, more oil from the bottom of a cooking pot. You've even used candle wax melted onto your skin, rubbed in fast, hoping it seals something in. It didn't. It just left burns. One girl tried lemon peel. The men liked it, said it made her seem fresh. She was punished. Too tempting, said the madam. Too much attention draws danger. Now she smells like the rest of you, like effort, like cover-up, the scent of survival. You once thought of collecting all the smells, writing them down, cataloguing them like a scholar. But how do you record sour hope? How do you label wine mixed with regret? Some days, you swear the room has moods. It smells tired, or angry, or afraid. You catch a whiff of someone's shoulder and know what kind of night they had. That's the real perfume here. History. Inhaled. The scent changes depending on who walks past, on how long it's been since the last bath, on how hard they tried to hide. You smell a lie faster than you hear one, and you've stopped telling the difference. Your nose is no longer yours. It belongs to the room. It tells you when someone is sick, when someone is bleeding, when someone is breaking. You once held a girl while she shook. Her hair smelled like tallow and thyme. You remember that more than the sound of her sobbing. Because in here, memory lives in scent, not in stories. Stories fade, but smells, they cling, they survive. You lie down at night and the pillow smells like someone else's hair, someone else's sweat, someone else's grief. You inhale. Because what choice do you have? You could stop masking. You could stop rubbing and covering and praying. But then they'd say you smell too real. And no one wants that. They don't come here for truth. They come for distraction, for performance. And performance requires scent. So you keep layering. Keep pressing leaves into your armpits. Keep dabbing vinegar on your wrists. Not to change who you are, just to forget. Just long enough. Just until the next one. The candle burns low. The rag is damp. Your breath smells like iron and garlic. It's good enough. Because sometimes the scent you wear is the only thing that says I'm still here. But not too much. The skin breaks first. Not from violence. Not from knives. But from friction-rough cloth. Too tight dresses. Endless wiping. You don't notice at first. A patch of dryness. A sting when you shift. Then redness. Then heat. By the third day, it itches. By the fourth, it opens. You rub at it. Then scratch. Then pick. Then it bleeds. You press it with your sleeve. Hope no one sees. Hope it stops. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. The scabs form quickly, but they don't stay. They get pulled off by the edge of your waistband, by the motion of your thigh against the inside of your dress, by someone else's hand. You learn to ignore the sting. The sting means it's still working and still fighting, but the swelling comes next. Soft at first, then firm, then hot. You push on it with your palm, feel the pressure rise under the skin, like something's trapped there. Maybe it is. You've seen it before. A boil forming, deep and red and full, pulsing with every step. You don't pop it, not right away, because once it bursts, the skin splits open, and then it weeps. Clear at first, then yellow, then green. You clean it with vinegar, if you have any, salt water, if not, your own spit. If it's the last option, you don't scream, not even when the sting hits raw flesh. You just grit your teeth and keep moving, because no one stops working over a sore, not unless it smells, not unless a man notices. And if a man notices, that's worse than pain. That's punishment. That's lost wages. That's the madam saying, "What's wrong with your leg?" and not waiting for an answer. So you hide it. With cloth. With your hand. With posture. You limp carefully. Make it look like tiredness, not infection. The other girls know. They can smell it. They've smelled it on themselves, but they don't say anything. They look away, like they hope your skin will behave again if they ignore it hard enough. Sometimes it does. The wound dries, turns dark, peels, then you're fine. Until next week. Until the rag rubs too hard. Until someone pulls your dress too fast. Until the corner of the bed scrapes your thigh. Then it begins again. Your hands are cracked, knuckles red, fingertips raw. You soak them in cold water. It helps for 5 minutes. Then they go numb again. You've lost feeling in 3 toes. From cold, from standing too long, from bad shoes, from no shoes. You've stepped on splinters. Rust. Old straw that stabbed into the soul and stayed there. You pulled it out yourself. Used a sewing needle heated in flame. No one helped. No one even noticed. The skin on your back flakes like old paint. You brush it off each morning. then watch it fall again by night. You don't bother covering it. It's not the part men touch, not the part they care about. But your thighs matter, your chest, your arms. So those you maintain, even if the skin is cracking, even if it bleeds when you stretch, even if the sores open mid-shift and close again under a fresh layer of sweat. You've used animal fat. It helped until it went rancid. You tried wrapping your arm once with cloth dipped in vinegar. The cloth stuck. When you pulled it off, it took the top layer with it. You didn't try again. Now you just pat, hope, forget. Some girls stop healing altogether. Their skin hardens, turns grey in places, scales up like bark. You touch their arms and feel no heat, just cold, like the body has stopped trying. One girl had a rash that circled her hip like a belt. She scratched until it bled, then kept scratching. She said, "If I peel it all off, maybe something new will grow." It didn't. It just oozed, then crusted, then split again. She still works, still moves, still smiles when asked. The men don't know. They don't look that closely. They never do. You wash when you can. You scrape with fingernails. You pick with teeth. You hide the blood. The skin stops being a barrier. It becomes a canvas, a record. It holds your failures, your rush, your silence. It tells you what you can't afford to admit. That your body is tired, that it needs rest, that it's becoming something else. Not human, not animal, just function. You stop noticing the pain until someone touches you there, grips too tight, presses where it's soft and swollen. You flinch. He doesn't see. You smile. Because smiling makes him look away. Just long enough. Just enough for you to breathe again. When the night ends, you sit on the edge of the bed, lift the cloth, check the wound. Still open, still wet, still yours. You wipe it gently, blow on it, say nothing. Because the rule is simple. As long as it doesn't smell too bad, as long as no one else complains, you work. And if it bleeds again tomorrow, well, you'll deal with it tomorrow. It doesn't hang. It leans. The dress, when you take it off, holds its shape. Stiff with sweat, dried fluids, and dust. It no longer folds. It remembers the curve of your back, the bend of your knee, the heat of every man who's pressed against it. Sometimes it even smells like him, his breath, his spit, his urgency. You try not to think about that. You lift it gently, even when you're exhausted. Because if you bend it wrong, it cracks. Like old paper, like brittle leaves in winter. The seams are stretched, stitches popping along the shoulders, the hips, but no one repairs it. You don't ask. You just tighten the belt and move on. There's only one dress. Sometimes two, if you're lucky. But even then, one's for show, the other for work, and the one for show gets ruined by nightfall anyway. You wear it day and night. You sleep in it. You bleed in it. You wake in it and pretend it's new. It never dries completely, even when hung in front of the hearth, even when left out in the courtyard. There's always something soaked in the fabric. A night too warm, a man too sweaty, a moment you'd rather forget. You press it to your chest. It sticks, then peels. It's become your second skin, but heavier, rougher, more demanding. The collar itches, the hem frays, the middle stretches. But you don't let it tear, because if it tears, the men say things. They see skin, they ask questions, they assume offers. So you patch it with thread from old curtains, with string, with quiet hope. The fabric changes colour over time. It starts brown, turns grey, then yellow, like old teeth. Patterns emerge, stains too deep to name, one shaped like a handprint, one like a flower pressed too long. You joke with the other girls. This one's from a lover. This one's from ambition. This one's from stew. No one laughs, but the silence isn't cruel. It's shared, so when the dress is wet, it drags behind you. It picks up straw, mud, ash. Sometimes it gets so heavy you feel it pulling your shoulders down. You shrug to adjust. It doesn't help. You've stepped out of it only once to wash it. That night, you worked naked. The client didn't mind. The madame didn't notice. But afterward, you felt cold. Not from the air, from exposure. The dress had become a wall, a barrier between you and everything else. Without it, you were just skin. And skin is dangerous. So the next morning, you wrung the fabric dry, hung it in front of the fire, watched it smoke. Then you put it back on. Still warm, still damp, still yours. It was lighter for a moment. Then came the next man, and it became heavy again. The dress collects stories. A tear at the hem from when you ran, a patch on the side from where someone pulled too hard. The neckline stretched too wide from repetition. But no one else reads those stories, only you. To them, it's just a dress. To you, it's your diary, your prison, your grave clothes. When you sleep, you curl in it. When you cry, you bury your face in it. When you dream, you see yourself without it, but only as a blur, only as absence. You tried to wear someone else's dress once. She was sick. You borrowed hers for a night. It felt wrong, too loose, too clean in the wrong places, too unfamiliar. You gave it back the next day and apologized. She said nothing, just nodded. She understood. Because here, your dress isn't just yours. It is you. It defines you, contains you, replaces you. If someone else wore it, they might become you. You might disappear. So you hold on to it, even when it's stiff, even when it's sour, even when the inside feels colder than the outside. You sit by the fire, turn the dress inside out, shake out the dust, wipe the seams, sniff the armpits, then sigh, because it's still wearable, which means you are. One day, it will fall apart, thread by thread, seam by seam. You'll wake up, step in, and find it crumbling in your hands. Maybe then you'll get a new one. Maybe not. Maybe they'll say, just tie it together. It still works. Just like they say about you. Because here, as long as the dress can stand even without you inside, you keep going. It doesn't matter if it walks by itself. It doesn't matter if it smells like someone else. It doesn't matter if it stands in the corner like a ghost waiting to be summoned. You still wear it. Because it is not a dress. It's the shell that lets you survive. There are no mirrors here. Not because they broke. Not because they were stolen. Not because they're too expensive. But because no one asked for them. No one wants them. You don't need a reflection to do this work. In fact, it's better without one. Better not to see the hollow eyes, the bruises that don't look as purple as they feel, the skin that's turning into something you no longer recognize. It's easier not to know. So, there are no mirrors, not on the walls, not on the dressing tables, not even shards of glass accidentally reflective. Every surface here is dull. Wood warped by heat, metal blackened by smoke. Windows coated in so much grease you see only shadows. You haven't seen your face in how long a year more. You catch glimpses sometimes, in the water basin, when the light hits just right, but even then it's too blurry, too warped, too unfamiliar. You lean over to look, and flinch, not because it's ugly, because it's unknown. You mouth your name, and it feels like something borrowed, something used by someone else once, but no longer yours. You forget what your eyebrows looked like, how far apart your eyes were, whether your teeth ever sat straight. You forget if your nose was soft or sharp. You forget if your lips ever curled up for you, and not for someone else. Some girls say they remember. One says she used to have freckles. Another swears her cheeks used to blush in the sun. You don't correct them. You just nod. You let them tell their stories. Let them imagine beauty that might have once existed. Let them lie, because it's safer than knowing the truth. That beauty here is dangerous, and identity is optional. When you arrived, you still tried. You braided your hair, pinched colour into your cheeks, licked your lips before entering a room. You hoped someone might notice, might say, "You look nice today." They didn't. They said you're ready. And after that, you stopped trying, stopped looking. Because what's the point of reflection when no one sees you anyway? They see a service, a role, a repetition, not a person. You've seen girls whisper into the mirror that isn't there, touch their cheeks as if expecting to feel something familiar, some trace of who they used to be, but it's gone. You've seen faces fade, not from time, from indifference. It happens quietly. A girl stops using her name, starts answering to you, stops telling stories about the town she came from, stops remembering what she looked like in summer. You hear someone call out, "Who's next?" and everyone looks at each other. No one knows, because the who doesn't matter anymore. Only the body, Only the willingness, only the silence. You don't keep portraits. You don't draw pictures. You don't even trace shapes in the dust. Because the longer you go without seeing your face, the more you accept that it's just not part of you now. It's like the dress, the rag, the shared basin. It serves a function, but it doesn't define you. And even if there were mirrors, what would they reflect? A tired face, a cracked lip, eyes rimmed in smoke and regret. You'd only look once, then turn away. You know this because it happened. A man once brought a polished piece of silver, used it to comb his hair. He left it behind. One girl picked it up, held it to her face. She screamed, not out loud, just enough for us to hear the breath leave her. Then she turned it over, face down, left it on the floor. No one touched it again. Eventually it disappeared. We didn't ask how. You've learned to recognize yourself by other things. The sound of your own cough, the pattern of your footsteps on the boards, the way your fingers curl when you're nervous, not your reflection. That's for other people. People with futures. With freedom. You just need to be acceptable. Not pretty. Not interesting. Just not offensive. Not enough to be sent away. Not enough to make the men wrinkle their noses. Don't be ugly is the only standard here. And even then, it's not about features. It's about smell, about neatness, about presentation. You keep your face blank, your hair pulled back, your body angled just enough to hide the worst parts, and that's enough. You've learned to smile by muscle memory, to lower your eyes when needed, to tilt your chin slightly upward, just flattering enough. Even without a mirror, you've memorized the shape they want. Because they don't want you. They want the echo, the version shaped by absence. You don't exist in full, only in fragments. Cheek, mouth, neck, thigh. Parts, never the whole. So you stop imagining yourself as a whole. You stop asking, what do I look like, and instead ask, do I look wrong? And as long as no one answers, you keep going. You crawl into bed, turn your face to the wall, close your eyes, and when you dream, you're faceless. Just warmth, just motion, just sound. And in the morning, when the sun hits the soot-stained window, you don't reach for a mirror, because you know it's better this way. No mirrors, no face, no burden of remembering. You tie your dress, pull your hair tight, step into the hallway, and whoever you were last night, you leave her in the dark. The door is always in sight, just 10 steps from the bed, 5 from the table. You could reach it in seconds if you ran. Sometimes you stare at it, thinking one day, it'll walk through and never come back. That thought feels good, sharp, hopeful, like holding a hot stone in your palm, too hot to keep, too comforting to drop. The wood is old, dry, cracked in the middle from humidity and age. It creaks if you lean against it. The handle is cold metal, always cold, even in summer. You've touched it, not just once. Sometimes after a long shift, sometimes at night when everyone else is asleep. Sometimes in the middle of a conversation you're not really in. You walk over casually, as if stretching. Place your hand on the knob and imagine the world on the other side, the air cold, maybe, or fresh, the soundless shouting, fewer footsteps, maybe silence. You picture a street, not paved, just dirt, but empty, and then you imagine walking into it, dress swinging at your knees, shoes worn thin but moving forward, back straight, spine unfamiliar with the idea of tomorrow, but you never turn the knob, you never even jiggle it, because that would be real, and you're not ready for real, not when it might push back. Besides, even if you did open it, where would you go? The town knows what house this is, what work you do. Your smell would reach the next street before your name does, and even if you outran the smell, you wouldn't outrun the eyes. There's always someone watching. The butcher's boy, the stable master, the priest who pretends not to see. They'd know. And what then? Another brothel, another door, different wood, same handle. So you stay. You tell yourself, I'll wait for spring. It'll wait until I've saved enough. It'll wait until someone leaves first. But no one leaves. Not really. Some girls vanish. Yes. But not through the door. They go behind the curtain, into the madam's office. And then one day, they're not there anymore. Rumours spread. She found a husband. She moved north. She's free. But you've seen the madam smile, And you know what freedom costs, more than any of you can afford. So the door becomes a story, an idea, something you tell the new girls about. I almost left once, you say, and they nod, wide-eyed, like they believe it means they can too. You don't correct them. Let them have the illusion, because it's the illusion that keeps them from collapsing. You keep the door clean, dust the corners, wipe the handle, as if preparing it, as if it'll open more easily if it feels wanted. One night, you pressed your ear to it, just to hear something, anything. Wind, rain, a dog barking. You heard nothing, not even silence, just that thick hum of existence, not outside or in, just there. You leaned harder. The door groaned. You stepped back. You were afraid it would open, afraid you'd have to decide. Because that's the trick. The door doesn't keep you in. You do. With fear, with routine, with all the reasons you say out loud it's safer here. I have food here. At least I'm not on the street. But you know the real reason. Because inside, you know the rules, you know the names, the smells, the pain. Outside you might not, and fear of the unknown always outweighs certainty of suffering. The door teaches you that. Every day, every night, every time you walk past it and do nothing. You could open it, but you don't, because you've stopped believing there's an out, only another in. You've watched men come through it. They bring noise, laughter, coins. They leave with less than they came in with. You stay. They come and go. You cycle. The door swings for them. Not for you. It's not a wall. It's a mirror, showing you all the ways you've stayed the same, even as your body changes, even as your skin heals and breaks and heals again, even as the seasons turn and dresses rot and names are forgotten. The door never forgets. It's the same shape, the same distance, the same weight in your mind. It is the edge of your world. You imagine opening it every time you get hurt, every time the blood on the rag is too red, every time the laughter turns to coughing and you taste iron in your mouth. But imagining isn't walking, and walking requires choice, and choice that's a luxury no one in this house can afford. So you go to sleep again, facing the door, dreaming it opens, dreaming you step through, only to wake up and find you never moved. And there it is, 10 steps from the bed, 5 from the table, still closed, still watching. The air isn't empty. It never has been. You breathe in what others leave behind, exhaled shame, second-hand sobs, the warm steam of too many lives lived too close together. There is no such thing as fresh air here, only recycled history. Every breath is a hand-me-down, a ghost, a leftover moan caught in your throat and swallowed like soup. It settles in you, slowly, steadily, until you forget what your own breath used to taste like. Maybe once it was light, like hay, or a cold morning. Now it's thick, coated in salt and vinegar and regret. You breathe in and your chest doesn't rise, it folds, as if even your ribs are tired of pretending. Inhale. There's someone else in your lungs. Exhale. Too late. They've already taken root. You sleep in a room with 10 other bodies, 10 other lungs, 10 other memories breathing beside you. You breathe in what they dream, what they fear, what they can't say out loud. The girl beside you once whispered a name in her sleep. Not a client. Someone else. Someone gone. You breathed it in, and now, sometimes, when you exhale, you hear yourself saying it too. No idea who he was, but he lives in you now. The air carries everything. Laughter, lice, secrets. You cough, and 3 others cough back, like a sad choir, practicing decay. There's no privacy in breathing, no boundaries. You share air the way you share water, clothes, pain. The walls trap it in. Every shout, every sob, every goodbye said too late. They echo, not just in your ears, in your throat, your stomach, your chest. You can feel a scream from 3 nights ago still clinging to the beams above your bed. You don't remember what it was for. You just know it hasn't left. Sometimes, you press your face into the pillow, try to block it all out, but the air still finds you. It crawls through the seams, into your hair, behind your eyes, under your tongue. You breathe less now, not to stay calm, to stay clean. You move through it carefully, trying not to inhale too deeply, trying not to take too much of them with you. but they're always with you. Their breath on your dress, their scent in your sleeves, their sorrow under your fingernails, even outside when the door opens briefly, when deliveries arrive, when a client leaves in a rush. Even then, the air doesn't change, it stays, because the house breathes too, and its lungs are larger than yours. You once saw a girl run outside, barefoot. She stopped 2 houses down and took a deep breath. Her body jerked, as if it didn't know what to do with the air that hadn't been touched. She vomited, then walked back. She didn't speak for a week. You understand now. Clean air is a shock, an insult. It makes you remember too much. The dirt in the air is protection, a shield, a balm. You breathe in sickness and sadness because it's predictable, because it's yours. Outside, the air would ask questions, force you to feel. You don't want that. So you breathe shallowly, carefully, politely. When you're near others, you turn your face slightly, as if sparing them, but really, you're afraid of what you might catch from their exhale. One girl sobs in her sleep every night. Her breath smells like onions and grief. You smell it. You dream of it. You wake up with it in your throat. The youngest still hum sometimes. Her breath is sweet, like stolen jam. You breathe that in too, and it hurts, because sweetness has no place here, and the air reminds you when it does. When a girl dies, you smell it before anyone says it. Her bed is still warm, but the air has changed. It goes still, dense, quiet, like it's waiting to be opened or sealed. You hold your breath when you walk past, not out of fear, out of respect, because she's in the air now, and you don't know if she wants to stay. Some say souls rise. You don't believe that. You believe they dissolve into breath, into rooms, into the soft space between door frames and candlelight. They become the house, the smell in the attic, the pressure on your chest, the faint scent of soap when no one's around. You breathe in, and they return. Sometimes you whisper to them while you breathe, "I remember you." Even if you don't, even if you're just trying to make peace with the taste in your mouth, you don't cry anymore. Tears are too clean, too personal, but you sigh. That's your way of mourning, a soft exhale, a quiet offering. Some girls perfume their breath with wine. You prefer mint when you can find it. Not to smell good, just to smell different. For a moment, but it fades. Everything does, except the weight. You carry it in your chest, in every breath, and there's no way to cough it out. Because it's not illness, it's inheritance. It's the price of being here, of staying, of surviving. You breathe and become someone else, then breathe again and forget who that was, until one day you forget to breathe, and the air moves on without you. At first, the smell disgusted you. It hit like a slap, a wall of rotten sweat and something older like a memory fermenting in cloth. You gagged more times than you could count. Then you stopped noticing. You thought that meant you'd gotten stronger, that maybe you'd adapted, that your nose had burned out like a candle left too long, but that's not what happened. You didn't grow stronger. You just dissolved. The smell didn't disappear. You did. Now, when a new girl enters and flinches, you don't comfort her. You just wait, because you know, soon, she'll forget too, not because the room gets cleaner, but because her body will stop fighting. You haven't truly smelled anything in months, not because your senses dulled, because they recalibrated. The stench of mold doesn't alarm you. The sharp bite of vinegar means someone tried. The sour note of old sweat, that's just the curtain. It's all become neutral, ambient, home. But there's one moment, each day, when it creeps back, just as you step outside, for errands, for deliveries, for that rare glimpse of sky. The breeze brushes past you, carries something light, grass, baking bread, cold metal, and then you smell yourself. Not as you think you are, but as you truly are. You realize the room is with you, wrapped around your skin, embedded in your scalp, clinging behind your ears and under your nails. It follows you. You walk past others and they don't flinch. They smile, nod, say nothing. You think maybe they don't smell it. Then you remember they're used to it too. Or worse, they think this is just what women smell like. You laugh, softly. Because what else can you do back in the room? You change your dress, hang it by the fire, Wash your hands in a basin already tinted grey, but nothing lifts. Not really. You once tried soap again. A gift from a client who felt generous. You scrubbed until your skin turned pink, until steam rose from your arms, until the scent of lilac bloomed across your chest. You breathed it in, held it, but by nightfall, the room had returned, and now lilac smells like failure. You smell like the room now. That thought doesn't scare you. It used to. Now, it sits inside you like a second name, one that doesn't need to be spoken, only worn. When you pass the mirrorless wall, you press your palm against it, close your eyes, and imagine, what would it be like to smell like wind or rain or nothing, but your fingers smell like smoke, like men, like history. You pull away. You don't speak of it to the others. They already know. Their scent has shifted too. Not towards each other, but towards sameness, a collective odour of work, of silence, of breathing in and never quite breathing out. The madam says scent is part of the performance, that it's earthy, desirable, real. You nod, because disagreeing isn't worth the trouble. But in your chest, you mourn. You mourn for the you who once smelled herself and knew who she was. Now, scent is not a trait. It's a tattoo, a curse, a signature forged in secret. One night, you dream you're clean, not just washed, clean, like wind chimes, like new parchment, in the dream. Someone hugs you, and they inhale and smile, because you smell like yourself. You wake up crying. It doesn't happen often, just enough to remember you still feel. Sometimes, you walk near the door again, as if the scent might stop at the threshold. It doesn't. It seeps through. The outside doesn't erase it. It just gives it room to stretch. You could leave, but you'd carry the smell with you, into the bakery, the market, the chapel. People would wrinkle their noses, not in cruelty, in confusion, because they'd smell something familiar, but not placeable. A room they've never entered, but somehow, remember, they wouldn't say anything, but their faces would shift. And you'd know. So you stay, and the smell becomes you, a cloak, a lullaby, a history book no one else can read, except him, because he was there, once. The man who stood behind you, didn't speak, didn't touch, just waited. Maybe he's still there, by the door, breathing. He doesn't need to see your face to know it's you. He smells the room, and knows you never really left. Epilogue. Clean air is cruel. You step outside. The door closes behind you, quiet as a sigh. No one watches. No one stops you. There is no ceremony. No last word. Just your feet crunching on frostbitten dirt. You think maybe this time the smell won't follow. You walk past the butcher's, the stable, the square where old women string laundry between broken windows. You walk until your legs stop aching, until your breath comes out like smoke thin, pale, almost holy. Then you find a field. Nothing special. Dry grass, wind, a rock just clean enough to sit on. You sit. The air is still. You close your eyes, breathe in, deeply. And for a moment, just a moment, you think you've done it. You think this is what nothing smells like. Then the wind shifts. It comes from behind, from the direction you walked, from the house, and it brings with it a curl of something warm. Old linen, wine turned sour, rancid oil and beeswax candles burned down to their last breath. And beneath it all your smell, the one you never named, but carried with you like an invisible signature. You open your eyes. No one is near, but you feel him, still, standing where he always did, behind the door, behind you, not touching, just watching. If he were here, he wouldn't need to speak. He'd know, because the wind brought it to him too. You smell like the room, still. You press your palms to your face, and even now after the walk, after the wind, after the field, you smell it there, the wood, the iron, the breath of women who never left. You cry, not loudly, not dramatically, just enough to remember you can. You stay until sunset. The shadows grow long. Your shadow doesn't look like you anymore. You get up, brush the grass from your skirt, walk further. not because you believe you'll be clean again, but because if you keep walking, maybe just maybe the room will forget you first. But you won't forget it. Not really. Because no matter how far you go, how clean the water, how fresh the air, you've already inhaled the memory. And it lives under your tongue, in your spine, in the way you avoid mirrors, in the way you flinch when someone lights a candle, in the way you always breathe in second. You thought it would wash off. That if you just scrubbed hard enough, long enough, with the right scent lavender, lemon peel, mint steeped in vinegar, you might undo it all, that the skin would become yours again, that the breath would be lighter, that the silence wouldn't cling so tight to your ribs. But it never really left, did it? Because what you carried wasn't dirt. It was memory. You remember the first time you smelled someone else's body as if it were your own, when her sweat blended into yours, when the fabric between you stopped being fabric and started being a second skin. You remember the first time you laughed, not because it was funny, but because no other sound made sense. You remember the candlelight, how it never reached the corners of the room, how it only lit just enough for someone to find you, but never enough for you to find yourself. You thought this isn't forever, just a season, just until you can leave. But time doesn't pass in seasons here. It folds, it loops, it stains. You stopped counting days after the 100th time you washed your face and saw someone else's hands. Not dirty, not clean, just used. You tried not to name them, the other ones who came, the ones who left. You tried not to name yourself, either, because names make it personal. And this couldn't be personal, not if you wanted to survive it. So you learned to live without mirrors, without voices, without freshness, and slowly you forgot. You forgot your own scent, your laugh. The last time you ran barefoot through something that wasn't someone else's story. You started measuring time by breath. How many inhales before a knock? How many exhales before the water turned grey? You found rhythm in repetition, in the scrape of a brush, in the tug of wet fabric, in the silence after someone asked, "Do you feel anything?" you didn't answer? Because what could you say? You felt everything. And nothing. At once. You tried to leave. Maybe once. Maybe more. You touched the door. You walked past the butcher. You reached the field. But your body remembered. The way your feet walked back without telling your head. The way the smell stayed curled into your collarbones. So you stayed. And told yourself, "I am fine." Fine is a word you learned to live inside. It meant breathing without crying, serving without bleeding, smiling without thinking. Fine was easier than real, because real meant remembering. And remembering meant pain. And pain meant admitting you weren't gone yet. So you lived. You folded towels that never dried. You listened to footsteps that never stopped. You wore dresses that never softened. And you told the next girl this isn't forever because she needed to believe it. And maybe you did too. But now it's quiet. The bed is empty. The room is cool. The smell is fainter, but still there. You breathe in and realize you're not trying to wash it off anymore. You're trying to understand it. This smell, this silence, this weight. It's not a stain. It's a scar. And scars don't go away. They just stop bleeding. You used to think healing meant erasing. Now you know healing means carrying it with less fear. You're still here. Not in the room, but in the breath, in the softness of worn fabric, in the air behind someone else's eyes. You became part of the place, and the place became part of you. No one said goodbye. No one told you you're clean now. But maybe that's not the point. Maybe the goal was never to be clean. Just to be true. To say yes. I lived in that room. Yes. I carried that smell. Yes. It shaped me. And still I walked out. Not because the room forgot you, but because you remembered yourself. And memory, too, is a kind of scent, one that lingers, one that whispers, you survived. What if it hadn't been a brothel? What if it was a convent? The silence would have been the same. But holier, colder, you would have worn white instead of grey, scrubbed your hands between prayers, pretended purity was the same as peace. Would that have been cleaner, or just a different kind of pretending? What if you were born noble perfumed, educated, taught to sit, smile, and bleed quietly in silk instead of straw? Would the filth have disappeared, or would it have simply cost more to hide? What if you were a washerwoman, a kitchen maid, a peasant wife? Would the water have been warmer? Would the pain have had a name? Would anyone have asked what you smelled like? If you weren't being sold, would anyone have cared? What if you were a man? Would you still be scrubbing yourself raw to be acceptable? Would you still wake with someone else's breath in your lungs? Or would your dirt be called adventure, your smell musk, your scars honour? What if you were born in a time where soap was easy and water ran hot, and labour was not something carved into your back by the age of 12? Would you still be haunted? Would you still carry the smell of the room, even if the room was a hospital, a school, an office? Because not all brothels look like brothels. Some are just places where bodies stop being human and start being useful. And the rules, they don't always involve payment. Sometimes they're called tradition, sometimes family, sometimes duty. But the smell of being used lingers just the same. So ask yourself, have you ever cleaned something not because it was dirty, but because you were told to? Have you ever looked in the mirror and thought, if I disappear a little more, maybe it'll be enough? Have you ever held your breath because the truth in the air was too strong to name? Then maybe you've been in the room, too. Maybe not this room, not with straw and vinegar and blood, but a room made of silence, of pressure, of expectation. And if you're still in it, I hope you find a door. And if you've left it, I hope the smell has faded. And if it hasn't, that's okay too, because some smells aren't stains. They're proof that you were there, that you endured, that you remember.